Hello everyone, welcome to your podcast. Thank you for choosing MYCPE ONE as your partner for continuing education.
To avail your credit certificate, it is required for you to complete the entire video. Please do not fast forward the video. Otherwise, the system won't be able to capture your watch time. If you cannot go through the entire video in one go, you can always come back later and pick up from where you left off. Please note that you must answer all the review questions correctly. To access the final quiz, you'll need to watch the entire video. A minimum score of 70% on the final quiz is required to earn your certificate. The handout material is available for download in the designated section. If you have any technical questions, feel free to email us at support@mycpe.com.
Happy learning and thank you for choosing MYCPE ONE.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to HR Next, Unpacking Trends and Talent Innovations. I am Behnam Bakhshandeh, one of the hosts of HR Next podcast series. Today's episode topic is how coaching can help HR and HRD departments in organizations' profitability. Our guest today is Dr. Susie Carder. Dr. Susie is the money and profit queen, a powerhouse profit coach and fractional COO who transforms businesses into multi-million-dollar empires. With her no-nonsense approach and infectious energy, Dr. Susie has built and sold multiple companies, including one for 8 figures. She's the secret weapons behind industry's icons like Lisa Nichols and Paul Mitchell, helping them create and supercharge their profits. As the author of Power Your Profit, which I have proudly have a copy for myself, she provides entrepreneurs with a step-by-step roadmap to scale their businesses to 10 millions and beyond success. Dr. Susie's expertise in operational efficiencies, strategies planning, and scalable systems empowers leaders to stop hustling and start thriving. Featured in the Wall Street Journal and Forbes, Dr. Susie is on a mission to help entrepreneurs crush financial goals, build legacies, and claim the lives they deserve. Please join me and welcome Dr. Susie Carder. Hi, Dr. Susie. It's so good to see you again.
Yes. Hello, Behnam. I'm so excited to be here. Those of you that don't know, Behnam was my coach for years, kicking my butt. So amazing coach and mentor.
Thank you. You are amazing. When you are my coachee, you are amazing coachee because you want to learn. You want to learn and you want to apply. And that is a privilege to any coach. And since then, you just took off. Geez, how many successful businesses you produce, you empowered, make it big, sold it to the next one. I'm inspired by you, Dr. Susie. I am inspired by you. And I bought my copy of your book, so I am reviewing it time to time, learning from you. And
I love that.
Thank you very much because I know how busy you are to give us time to be using your experience, your knowledge, your expertise on how can coaching, a coach like you, working with the company's HR department under umbrella of HRD, Human Resources Development, Training, and Courses, and impact profitability in that organization. So, go ahead.
I think every area of your business, when you start looking at profitability, I think people just look at numbers, but you know as well as I know, if the mindset's not there, that affects profitability. Productivity is not there, it affects profitability. If you look at mismanagement of time, affects profitability. So I think when you look at a business, I always say business is like that combination lock that we had in school, or if you go to the gym, one little tick off and it's not going to open,
Yep.
right? And I remember standing at the locker, especially when you were busy trying to hurry it up. And human behavior, you can't hurry it up, right? They are where they are. And we have to start with what they know, build on what they have. And I think as profitability, when you just look at the numbers are imperative to our success. But what are all the indicators that affect the numbers, right? It's your team, it's that team dynamic. It's not about just dumping knowledge onto people. What I love about you is it's give you knowledge and then handhold you through it, give you knowledge and handhold you through it. And when I say handhold you through it, it's all about accountability, right?
Yes.
Without accountability, nothing changes.
No.
So coaching helps you figure out, I'm sorry, Behnam, helps you figure out that profitability and employees on what to do and what are those highest income producing activities that person can only work on. I think we get caught up in that minutia of doing all the things versus, wait, what is my job and what do I need to focus on?
So how do you define profitability coaching compared with the traditional coaching or workshops?
Well, my clients are the one that gave me the title profit coach, right? And I said, well, they go, no, because I thought, oh, I'm strategic development. I'm accountability. They're like, no, you're not. You're the money. And I'm like, I am the money. So as any business, we have to focus on the money first. And that starts creating our key performance indicators, right? What are those things I need to manage? Everything, all roads lead to money. Now you can make $1 million, and you've seen this in your coaching, and you can spend $1.5 million, right? 1.5. We're not profitable. And so having in your vision statement, mission statement, profitability, it's important. And as business owners and leaders, my paycheck, my bonus is tied to profitability as a business owner. I have my paycheck I get as the work I do, but my big payoff is the profitability I create. And any business owner, right? I've been successful in selling companies because I have profitability. If there's no profitability, you don't have anything to sell. Right. So it's important that our team understands. I think as business owners, we get nervous, right, to talk about profitability, but that just means I have a healthy company. Then I can have benefits. Then I can, right, provide things that another business can't because there's money to do that. I don't want to spend all the profitability. I don't want to reinvest all of that back into my company, but there is that point of that's how we as business owners get paid.
Yes, this is great what you're saying, Susie, because in my career, I saw so many small businesses, small family businesses, practitioners running businesses, owner running businesses, which I noticed none of them have any concept of how much profit we make. What is our goal about profitability of the company? So It's just missing for them. They think just working hard, even being responsible for their actions and doing the actions correctly, most of them were not profitable. I love what you said about if you're not profitable, you cannot sell the company because there's nothing to sell. That's it.
Right. Well, if we're not profitable, then you just have a job.
Yes.
That's the reality. And the stat is 90% of small businesses aren't profitable. And then the businesses that are profitable, which is bananas, Behnam, the businesses are profitable. They aren't paying themselves a proper paycheck. So if you were going to be paid $200,000 a year as the expert or the CEO of the company, right, then if you were to manage a multi-million-dollar company, and that would be your compensation. If you don't have that compensation in there, again, we own jobs. Yes. So when I look at formula, what I know about us as entrepreneurs and leaders is we're creative. So what's the formula? What's the system? What's the strategy? So I always look at 50% of the revenue should go to costs, right? So that's your salaries, that's your sales, that's your marketing, like things that generate the income. 30% goes to overhead, and then 20% is profit. So in order to have a healthy business, we need 20%. But again, if you look at the average business, right, doesn't have profitability, it's like, well, we don't know the formulas. So let's work inside the formula. That's why I love math, right? Math is money, money is fun. I didn't always love math. You know me, I didn't like math. But I realized that if I don't understand this piece, I'll never be successful in business, right? If I don't understand what is the formula, how do I get there, then I can't create a business that I can sell. And every day we go into work, you need to build your business to sell, whether somebody buys it or not. I mean, you know, when we sold Salon Training International, we always put it in our vision and our goal that we were going to sell. We didn't know to who, we didn't know when, but when the buyer came knocking, we had everything in place. And so we didn't have to scramble to get everything in place. We had everything in place. And then we just worked on the deal. Right now, I learned a lot in that deal, but that was very humbling. But,
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
it is.
that's part of learning and being in business, right?
Yes, absolutely. I get ahead of myself and I wrote a bunch of questions, but I love to listen to you talking about actual in the field, on the track, working with people. Can you share an example of how coaching on paying attention to profitability, how
Yes.
that coaching contributed to measurable success of one or two organizations?
Well, every organization, if we're not working on their numbers and we're not working on profitability, they get fired. I learned that from you. If you don't do the homework, you don't get you you don't have the privilege of being coached with me anymore. Right? You taught me that early on. Like, don't waste your money and my time. Right? When you said that to me, it was like, oh, ouch. Right? But it was true. Like, let's not just nobody just wants to have a conversation. So when I look at, let's say, Dr. Judy, she owned a holistic medical practice. And when she came to me, she was burnt out, fried, at capacity, right? They were doing about 1.2 million, which was great, minimal profit, if any profit. And so we started looking at where was the breakdown. One was in capacity. So she was stacking, packing, racking, seeing patients, right? Not really looking, selling a ton, but not really leveraging it. So we pulled back and looked at every single client. We put her clients into categories: A clients, B clients, and C clients. A clients are those clients that we love and adore, and they come in and they do what we say, and right, they're on a consistent schedule. B clients are the clients we still love them, right? They come in, but they come in not as often as they should. And then C clients are sometimers. Sometimes they come in, sometimes they don't. Now, depending on whatever your business is, right, it doesn't matter. I'm using this example with Dr. Judy, but I've done it with vending machine businesses. I've done it with landscape design businesses. I've done it with coaching businesses, right? So I looked at every piece of her business. The first thing we focused on were the numbers and her average ticket and her average turn. The average ticket, we tripled her average ticket. We took her from 1.2 million to 4.7 million in 2 years, because we started looking at the numbers and having her see using her time more effectively. So it doesn't matter if we increase the top line if we're not managing the bottom line, which is our profitability. So now she takes off 2 months a year to travel, right? She recently got married. So I'm not going to say I did that, but I'm going to say she had time to go date. And we opened a new practice and expanded her practice because she could see, even inside of, before, her capacity was limited, but now she saw another way of doing business, another way to coach another practitioner, another doctor. So it was an amazing, that was that one location. And then we expanded it. We tripled her space, and now working on let's multiply revenue, retention, and results.
Very, very great. What you said about average ticket for our audience in small businesses, especially practitioner owner businesses, ticket is what they sell to a person or a client. In the industries and bigger, vast organization development, we can put that average ticket equal KPIs, as you said, right? Key
Yes.
performance indicators, or job performance standards or criteria, or in some industries they call it best industry practices. So if maybe for one person in organization we cannot put what per se average ticket, but if we make it meet your KPIs, so for a week we expecting, or company or supervisor expecting you to produce this A, B, or C.
Yes.
This is just clarity of people don't get confused. Dr.
We
Susie,
look at transaction value as well, right? So you
yes,
look at sales. So that's another way, like when we're not looking at clients, what you're looking at transaction value and what are the steps that get to that transaction, right? So even looking at from contact to contract, for
yes,
some like bigger businesses, that could be a year. Like if you're selling $100,000 product, that could be a year. That, if you're selling, $500,000 product, that could be, but understanding from contact to contract, it takes 10 steps, right? 10 contacts, 10 meetings, 10, that number is invaluable. So if you have not a very good salesperson, it might take them 20 contacts. Well, how do I get them to 10? Right. So you look at the industry average is 5. Right. So if I go, okay, well, you're doing 10. So let's get you to the industry average. So every day we're working on that combination lock, Behnam, right? We're looking on what is the combination for this business? I think that's where people start pigeonholing somebody like yourself. For me, the industry is that's not relevant. What we want to look at is managing those KPIs and where are they to industry standards, and then what we know, what we can get them to exponential result if we're managing those.
Or depend to a person, a supervisor or manager or practitioner mindset, personality, the characteristics that KPI is varies. So I learned that I cannot expecting certain outcome which person A produced with potential person B or C. I look at that, what am I dealing with? What's the reality of dealing with this person? How can I open that lock with this person? It might be different from other person, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing doing that, Behnam, for about 20 years, I've been using something called the Harrison assessment, which I promise you is the DNA of managing somebody. It looks at their culture belief. Are they a culture fit? Looks at their skill sets. It looks at their behaviors. And then the juicy part is when this person is overwhelmed, stressed, and not engaged, what shows up for them? So it shows me the blind spot. So now I'm not guessing. I'm not saying, how do I manage this person? It shaves off 6 months of learning that person so that I'm coming in hot, knowing exactly, and you told me who you were, right? I'm not saying, oh, Behnam, you're direct, you're dogmatic, you're dominating, right? It just shows me on that. I'm direct, I'm dogmatic, I can be blunt. So I have to learn how to manage that when I'm dealing with different personalities. And so as a leader, it's important first to look at me. Who am I in the realm of leadership? And then how am I leading my team? And if there's a clash, I have to be responsible first, right? So I think too many times as leadership, we waste so much time trying to figure out the dynamic of people versus let's use tools. There's so many great tools out there. That's just one. You and I have both used all kinds of assessments, but how can we leverage that to get the best results from the talent that we bring in?
Very great, very great. Dr. Susie, how do you see coaching approach with the partnership with the human resources? Because you and I, we both know on the size of family businesses, small operations, what do you call it, practitioner operating businesses, they don't have HR departments. They are just one person or a partner managing what they call HR, which is usually just paychecks and benefits. But bigger companies and bigger organizations, HR is a larger department who determine to hire somebody like you or me to come and work with them under what are their needs. So in terms of somebody who's expert on profitability or accountability coaching, how do you see somebody like you create partnership with the HR department to help them to come to the what you call producing the strategies that the HR department put together?
I think when we hire people, Behnam, we have this magic wand, right? That we think, oh, I'm going to hire Behnam and he's going to know exactly what to do. Well, there is training that needs to occur, and HR isn't just about hiring, firing. It's about fueling financial growth. Coaching transform HR from an administrative function to a strategic powerhouse, really developing people into that next highest level. When HR leaders are coached or aligned with talent and business objectives, they stop playing defensive and start playing on the offense, reducing turnover, improving performance, and ultimately making that HR a profit generating department, not a cost center.
Very good, very good, very good. I'm looking at the questions that I wrote to ask, and you keep touching some elements of these questions. I just give me a second to read what I want to ask next. As I think you already touched on how coaching can help HR and HRD department to retain top talents. Could you talk about this more? How these coachings approach that you design? For example, stop turnover and increase the talent development and keeping the talent in the company.
Well, I think one, turnover is so expensive, right? We call it the silent leak, like a leak in the company's profitability,
Yes.
right? So if you look at SHRM estimates that it's about 200% of an employee's salary to replace them. So, before I really understood this, I would just hire someone to fill a spot, right? And I'm like, oh, hope they work out. And then realize, wait, I'm spending 200% to train them, right? To get them ready. So coaching helps the HR leader identify why people leave, right? And more importantly, what makes them stay. And are they the right employee? Because we have to have them feel valued. We have to train them. We've got to challenge them. They're not swiping on LinkedIn job posts at lunch, right? We want to invest in coaching. It means investing in retention. And so when people look at somebody like you or myself as an expense, I always tell my clients, I am a profit center, right? I'm going to show you the combination of how to manage each person, right? Because each person is different. You can't have not one size fits all, not one size doesn't, I can't train that person the way I train this person, especially now when you've got all these different age groups coming in. It's a different ball game.
Oh, and if you're different generations, oh my God.
I know we sound old now, Behnam. We can't.
Well, we are boomers. At least I speak for my own age.
Yeah,
we are boomers, and now we are working with these Gen Zs or
millennials.
Generation G. Oh my God, it's like people pulling their hair because there's a gap. There's a huge gap between generational management. And these days, these kids go through these cell phones and manage the entire department with the cell phone from their homes. And we try to put our mind around it. Please go ahead.
Well, I mean, if I look at HR, right, and investing in coaching means investing in retention, which is another word for profit protection, right? So protecting the investment of a qualified team member to go, oh, so what is that skill that I need to help them develop? I always tell my team, look, if you're not growing and developing yourself, you're going to be replaced because I'm growing fast. And if you can't keep up with me and the company and our division, you're going to be out of a job. So it's training them from the minute they come into the culture is what is that culture? I think now companies are less fat, right? Since that pandemic that happened. So we shipped a lot of fat and said, who are the essential, right? And when I look at coaching is the essential because I'm able to see what you can't see because you're in the dig every single day.
Exactly. I'm going to continue on what you just mentioned. From coach's point of view, what competencies or skills, at least 3 or 4 competencies or skills that you think a coach like you should have when they get engaged with human resources?
So one, we have to have strategic thinking that aligns with the company's vision. Back in the day, I would bring people into my company and they were shooting holes in my bucket. They would say things that were not inside our culture or would completely be the opposite of what we're trying to preach to our team. So, one, we have to be strategic thinkers, and you have to have um, analytical discernment, right? So some people just don't. They don't think analytically. They don't look at what ifs, right? So that's part of that strategic thinking. Financial acumen, doesn't matter what department that you're in, because everything leads to a number, like you said, those KPIs. And then leadership influence, right? So you have to be a great leader, and that's a skill that is learned on how can I speak to any room, any age, any topic, and get enrollment, right? Coaching helps reduce, it helps HR leaders stop processing people and start partnering with people, right? With executives to drive the business objectives. It's like teaching them to speak the CEO language and be responsible for the company. Because let's be honest, you can't get a budget increase approved by talking about employee engagement alone. You need to tie it to that profitability.
Yeah, what you said is so valuable, Dr. Susie, about understanding your people in the management level as and the I call it floor level, like people who literally delivering the goods and delivering the job. I can share with you with honestly and humbling that really I learned through the decades that my style was different size hammers. I just paint the hammers different colors. I thought I made a change in my style. And it was very humbling to learn that people are different and people learn differently and people listen differently and
Yes.
people respond to you, to your style differently. I find having empathy and compassion for what people dealing with, the things that they are not saying that directly influence their performance. Who knows
Right.
what people dealing with? These skills are valuable to any coach. How can coaching programs help develop leadership capacity for management in the company, including human resources or even operative managers? How coaching programs can help companies and HR develop leadership among their managers?
I would say the first thing when you're looking at coaching and growth isn't just about more people, right? It's about the right people doing the right things. Coaching, strategic coaching equips the HR leader with the ability to identify leadership potential. It creates succession plans. It builds internal talent and pipelines. That way, when a company scales, they're not scrambling to fill the gaps. They're already built a bench of leaders ready to step up and step in.
Dr. Susie, would you please expand on that terminology, scaling and a scale business? Say more about that. What do you mean by that? How that will impact the what is the relationship, that distinction, and organization?
So when I look at scaling an organization, whether it's a, 5 million, 10 million, $100 million company, I think the more zeros, what I've learned in my decades of doing this, it doesn't matter how many zeros, the breakdown is still the breakdown. It goes to people management, it goes to the KPIs, it goes to what are the things that we are managing. And when you get so many people, you start getting bogged down by not managing those results, and then people become very task oriented. Well, tasks are great, but they're not increasing the profitability. I need people to be outcome driven, not task driven. I don't care if it takes you 10 calls to get the sell. What I care about is the sell. I don't care if it takes 10 conversations to coach Behnam to his greatness, whether it's one conversation, 10 conversations, 100. The reality is I'm looking for that result. So when companies start managing from the results, we see results exponentially increase. Because now we're not managing excuses, we're not managing reasons, we're managing the productivity.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm looking at my questions.
That's all right.
How does coaching influence the overall organizational culture? And how you go or when you go to a company, obviously it depends on the size of the company. Let's talk about the mid-range company. Some companies between 50 to 150 employees, 200 employees. In your experience and your expertise, how you influence with your coaching abilities to either reinvent the culture or create a new culture, and who you need to work with to actually get it done.
Yeah, so there's a saying that if the company is dysfunctional, tear down that company and open a new company. That is real, and I know it's really hard to shift a culture if they're not ready. A company culture is defined by what the leaders do. That's that tongue in your mouth and your tongue in your shoe going in different directions, right? That's what our old parenting was: do as I say, not as I do. And there's still organizations that are dictating and not really leading by example. So when the company culture is defined by what leaders do and not what the mission statement says, coaching creates a ripple effect inside the organization, right? Leaders who are coached but to lead better, communicate better, set clear expectations. Employees feel more engaged. They're not just locking in, they're part of a high performance, purpose-driven team, right? I've had where I've spent a year working in this company, and then the leader can come in and just sabotage that entire year by not following the protocol that they instilled in me to put in place, right? So happy employees don't just smile more, they sell more, they create more, they innovate more, which, let's face it, that makes a healthier balance sheet. And that makes us smile more as leaders to go, oh, I hit that target. I hit that revenue.
I have seen so many examples of what you just said, that leaders of the companies want the change as long as not applying to them.
Like, how is that supposed to work, right?
This is exactly what I tell them. And statistically, over 78%, which is nearly 80% of organization development attempts failing because of they don't want to apply the change on themselves. Change is good for others, not for me. Don't ask me to invest other change. And when I lay down these statistics for them, then I question them. So why you want to waste your money? If you're not going to start, how are we going to do the change that you want to do? I tell you a funny story about this. I was working with a relatively medium-sized company. Statistically, medium-sized company is 500 to 1,000 people. And the owner of company, older gentleman, had a beautiful classic car collection. He took me to a warehouse. Imagine a warehouse in the size of Home Depot, full of classic cars, And I was like a kid in a candy shop, couldn't have enough time to look at these beautiful cars. And I look at the 1957 Chevy, which is my own age birth, 1957. I love that car. It looked like brand new.
Yes.
I said, such and such, are you taking this baby for a ride? I said, yeah. In the weekends, take my lady, we go around the town and enjoy it. I said, perfect. Then I said, by the way, why are you not taking this car to Pittsburgh? From where we are, and Pittsburgh is almost, 8 hours drive. He said, I can't take this car to Pittsburgh. You're not going to handle it. I said, thank you for making my point. Your idea of management, of running this company, is like you're taking 1957 Chevy from here to Pittsburgh. Guarantee it will fail.
Okay, that's a great example.
So
the coach is always coaching, even when they're looking at sexy cars.
No, he was like, okay, how can I make a simple example for somebody so honorable, hardworking generation, build this company from trunk of his car to all the way in 5 locations in 3 different states, and that's so big, to not offend them, especially in that generation. What, now you know better than me kind of attitude, So that kind of example uh, as I mentioned, I learned to be more humble and have more empathy with people, caused a great making a difference in the company. But I can totally get your point. So let me ask from your experience, how do you change that owner's mindset? How you work, obviously everybody different, but as a general approach, how do you enroll that business management to wisdom of coaching and wisdom of apply the coaching elements?
Well, I think stories are incredibly powerful. And when you have the credibility, I think so many coaches have no credibility. So, and I know there's so many charlatans in our industry that they're teaching concepts or theory. Well, you look, I have followed some theory and I'm like, that shit doesn't work. Right. So, I've built 10 multi-million-dollar businesses, two $10 million businesses, sold 3 multi-million-dollar companies. And so when I look at that, I just share from my own breakdown. Like you said, I've been humbled. Look, I lost $10 million in the market when the market crashed. And so I'm willing to not look good all the time to show my clients I've been there, done that. I've invested wrong. I've invested right. I've spent a ton of money on my education, right? The more you learn, the more you earn. So when you can have that humble spirit and the expertise, right? You can't just be a coach, get pontificating, because that stuff doesn't work, right? Especially if you're not used to working with companies that have hundreds of employees or they're doing millions of dollars, you just don't have that expertise and that credibility to talk about it. So when I'm working with people and they want to create something, it's like, well, give me your expertise in that. It's like you wouldn't hire somebody for a job. Like when you look at, if they've never managed, or let's say take a company public, and now you want to take a company public and you want to hire somebody to do that, and they've never done that, that's a waste of time, money, and energy. So it's important that we look at the person that you're hiring to come in and lead and teach your team. Do they have the credibility and expertise in that? Right. So I think that's what's unique about both you and I and several other businesses. But it's one of the things I tell my coaches, my clients to do is make sure I'm the right person for you. Whoever you're interviewing, have they walked the walk? Have they talked the talk? Or is it theory? Because theory is expensive and it doesn't work. Right. The reality is I need to see that you've invested. I need to see what training programs you put together. I need to see what kind of marketing that you've done and what your return on investment is. Right, as a business owner. So when I'm hiring a coach, you better be playing bigger than me. You better be 10 steps ahead of me, because I'm gonna smell you out, right? And so most companies will smell you out if you don't have that credibility. So for coaches, if you're listening to this, and I know Behnam has a lot of followers in that, make sure that you're looking at your credibility and what results you're helping your clients produce, right? Saving time, money, and energy.
Very good. Now, in your experience, what is the barriers that you dealt with when you're working with top management, senior management, or HR to get them to see the wisdom of coaching and what they can do in the company? What would stop them? What is the challenge for you? What is the barriers? Give us 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it. One is cost, right? They think we're expensive, right? And the reality is to do we're not doing training, we're doing transformation. That's different than offering a training. Transformational coaching is a bigger lift. It's more time, right? So you've got cost, you've got time, and you've got buy-in. Those are the 3 barriers.
Cost, time, and the third one was?
Cost, time, and buy-in.
Uh-huh.
So the buy-in is what we're talking about, like your Chevy story. Like he had buy-in to hire you, but he didn't have buy-in for himself. The irony is coaching actually saves money and time in the effort in the long run, right? You might look at, oh my God, this program's $100,000. Well, if you do what we say, you'll have a 6x return on the productivity and profitability. And that was done by the coaching federation, right? They have that data and that stat. 6 times for every dollar you invest, your return is 6 times in productivity and profitability.
If you do the coaching, if you follow the program.
If you do what we say, I always tell my clients, it's easy if you do what I say. It's not easy when you want to resist, right? So
Yes,
I
yes.
think coaching is the cheat code for high performance teams, right? You can grow faster, better retention, bigger profits. Coaching isn't optional, right? So we used to send people to classes and then people, they would do it, they would not. I'm like, forget that. I'm going to hire Behnam and bring them in my company because now they can't hide, right? So that was the cheat code for me is like, you're going to come in every single month and hold these people accountable because the reality is they don't want to hear it from me. They're done hearing it from me, right? Me as the owner, right? They're
Yes.
done hearing it from the boss, the leader. That it's like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. They can't even hear it, right? You come in, Behnam and his accent, now they have to pay attention. You come in with me, they underestimate me and they're like, holy shit, this woman she comes for them, right? In a way that's loving, a way that's supportive. But you can't get 6 times return just from implementing a training. You have to implement transformation. And that's what we're
Speaking of transformation, because that is, as you know, that is my style of coaching, transformative coaching. And how do you see the two different models of coaching, directive and indirective? Directive coaching usually is for experts. They tell them, because I call it the telling coaching. Tell them what to do, A, B, C, D, right? The indirective coaching that we both of us using, like transformative coaching, is inquiry, right? Asking versus telling. How do you use directive telling coaching and indirective asking coaching combination in what you do?
Well, I think the telling is the foundation, right? Let me give you an example. Let me show you this. Here's the tool we're going to use. I'm going to go back to the Harrison. Here's the tool we're going to use. The indirective is then looking for the insight that's causing that behavior.
Yes.
What behavior does this team member need to change, improve upon, or leave behind? And that's powerful. If you can have them see it for themselves, that's where the transformation occurs. That's what you and I do. Is we're not going to tell you you're dysfunctional. I want you to see your dysfunctional in action, just like you did with that 57 Chevy. He saw his dysfunction, like, I would never drive that car. Exactly. But you're wanting me to drive this big car and that doesn't have the capacity. I need you to be in partnership. So one is alignment with the leadership, that you want to create partnership versus dictatorship. The partnership allows us to grow quicker, faster. It allows us to have that synergy together. It means that it's not getting over on mom and dad. Like, oh, I can say this to Behnam, but I can't say it to Susie, right? We want that unified front if we're going to come to this together.
Very good. Dr. Susie, what metrics or indicators do you see to measure the return of investment for coachings that a company will invest?
Yes. So we've all heard the saying, you can't manage what you don't measure, right? So what are those key indicators that's important to your company? That's what you go in when we're doing the assessment, if Behnam's doing it or I'm doing it, right? We come in and look at what are we managing through this partnership. So reducing turnover, increased revenue per employee, higher engagement scores, improved performance metrics. One of my clients saw a 32% increase within a year of implementing leadership coaching.
Oh, that's great.
Right? So if someone asked, does coaching really work? My answer is only if you like making more money.
And funny thing is, many people, they have a polluted idea of making money. Some for them, like, it's evil. I shouldn't make too much money.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother mindset class that we can talk about.
Yes,
we always say that your net worth will only go as high as your self-worth, right? And that's the combination of, let's unlock that limiting belief, right? Your team has a limiting belief about money. Like if you're in sales, we've got to bust those limiting beliefs in order to sell a high-end program or sell a high-end solution to your clients, right? It's so important. I found myself, Behnam, I was working with a client, Sharon, and this was right when COVID happened. And I've managed millions, right? $40 million companies, right? That was kind of 40 to 100 million was my threshold. And I'm like, okay, I can manage large amounts of money. And I was going back and doing this whole mindset thing about where's my money beliefs right now. I do it every year. And something came into me and said, I can't handle large amounts of money. I'm like, where did that come from? Well, Sharon, I was working with the week before, she was doing a $1 billion deal. Well, I've never worked on a $1 billion deal. And all of a sudden, my smallness came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, now large amounts of money was a billion with a B. And so I sabotaged that deal. I didn't know I sabotaged it at the time, but I totally I didn't follow up with her. I'm like, can I do this? And I always tell my clients, look,
oh my God, that's self-doubt. Everybody have that self-doubt. Different.
Oh, but it came up and smacked me upside the head. I'm like, God dang it. I'm going to see her next month. So I'm going to come clean to her. Like, it just cracked me up because people go, oh, my money mindset's great until it's not. Right. My money mindset's great. I'm prosperous. I pull it to me. Like I've lived my life in this realm. And then all of a sudden it crept in because now my limiting belief was like, well, I don't know if I can do that. Right. It's that imposter syndrome, that fraud syndrome. And we all have it as leaders. It doesn't matter how many zeros you manage. It's the comfortability of those zeros that you manage.
Very great. Dr. Susie, I love to hear more stories because stories make a difference for people to see where they are shortcoming themselves. They can see themselves in other people and what other people deal with. If you don't mind, please tell us one or two stories, one for a smaller business, let's say up to $2 million kind of size of business, and one another 10 to 20 million. Because the people who listen to this podcast, especially their HR professionals, who dealing either as a consultant with the companies, who they can use your wisdom in their coaching to the companies, or they are working for the companies who can be aware of the element of barriers or holdbacks in these stories. A couple of fun stories will make a difference.
Yeah, so I recently coached a mid-sized company struggling with high turnover, low morale, right? And after implementing a leadership program for HR leaders, we streamlined the hiring. We created retention-focused incentives. We restructured their training program. We created an online training portal so that they didn't have to spend time and energy pulling everybody out, right? Which again, dropped our overhead, right? So the turnover dropped by 27%, saving the company about $164,000 in replacement costs. The best part is employees started enjoying their job again, right? Because we get so busy being busy that we forget, like, wait a minute, this is a new year. This is a new quarter. This is a new season. And we get, as leaders, bored. So what's incentivizing you, right, and making that happen? I'll give you another example of Herringstones. They're a fast fashion company. They're doing about 10 million in sales now. When I met them, they were doing 5 million. And we started working on transaction value and unit values, right, along with their leadership. And again, we implemented the Harrison so that we could see where they at, what are they doing, are they in the right role? Some of them, we just put amazing salespeople in these leadership roles, but they weren't qualified to do that, nor did they like it, right? So it takes time to dismantle dysfunction and then rebuild it with a new culture, but we doubled sales, right? And so when you look at that, doubling sales in a year is pretty phenomenal. So we went from
right. Are you kidding me? It's amazing. It's amazing. Right.
So the combination was, what are the little things that are going to make the huge difference? Now it was work, and it was building that muscle, and it was high accountability, right? And it's getting all the owners, right, in the same space in the same time. So I think looking at the detail of what are those KPIs that you want to manage, what are the things that we're going to focus on, what are the outcomes that we want to focus on, so that we can keep the employees that we have, and then get rid of the bad eggs, right? That one person that is toxic that you spend the most time on, it's just time to release them. to go give them a bigger opportunity, like find their next great thing that they need to work on, not use your company as what we call quiet quitting. And so many employees, the bigger the company, you have so much quiet quitting where people quit and stay. And then that's costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so by looking at the whole infrastructure and looking at every single team member as a profit center, right? It shifts the dynamic of just who they are.
Very great. What would be your advice, coaching or advice or gold marks that you want to give to HR manager, human resources development manager? What would be your expert advice? A couple of them.
In working with HR managers or what they need to do?
To implement coaching or not resisting coaching, word of wisdom, how you contribute to them.
Well, I would say at the end of the day, coaching isn't about making people feel good, right? We've all heard that Tom Landry quote of a coach will tell you what you don't want to hear. A coach will show you what you don't want to see so that you could be the person you knew that you could be. It's about making the business perform better. The best company and the best investment for a company can make it in its people, because that's where, when your people win, your profit follows. And I think sometimes we're so worried about the profit, but if my people aren't invested in that same goal and that same alignment, and they're not feeling good about it, right, then that's where the burnout comes in. That's where the quiet quitting comes in. That's where the company is stagnant, right? Is you can have a company being in business 10 years, having the same revenue. Well, I say you've been in that business 1 year, just repeating it 10 times to go, what do we need to do differently this year to have that total breakthrough and a total transformation? And it doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be strategic.
Very nice. Dr. Susie, how could people find you?
Well, you can find me by my name, Susie Carder, on all social, LinkedIn, everything. You can go to our website, Susie Carder, right? You can get our book on Amazon. It's in all the outlets, Power Your Profits. That's everything I learned the hard way, right? Of building a multi-million-dollar business. But here's the deal. It's not insequential. So if you suck at math and you suck at the profitability, go to chapter 8, Math is Money, Money is Fun. If you suck at leadership, go to chapter 2, which is our leadership chapter, right? It's not designed to just read it, chronologically. It's like, wait, what do I need right now? Because as business people, it's what do I need right now? It's not this, put your plan together, get your people in order. It's like, holy crap, my people are out of order. Holy crap, I don't know how to be a leader. Holy crap, the money's not working, right? So it'll allow you to figure out what's best for you. So I encourage you to come find me. We've got a ton of content on YouTube. You can look at our YouTube videos to, just great education to help you. If you love this conversation, check it out and come play with us.
Very great. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Knowing you as a friend and family was one of the best things that happened to me in my life. You and I know each other at least 35 years or so. We have done so many work together. We see our children grow up, have their own children, and it's amazing. And again, I am so inspired by who you are, what you have accomplished, and your big heart and soul that you make a difference with me. It's an honor to know you.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you for always being a stand for me. Thank you for being a stand for our industry and being the real deal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susie. I hope to see you soon